nation. You have the support of Aboriginal people in New South Wales. I'll tell you what I've seen. People housed in bag and tin huts they put up themselves. Sometimes these replace good weatherboard houses destroyed by the police. Out west at Menindee and Brewarrina, the Protection Board built new houses of corrugated iron walls and hard concrete floors. No furniture, no doors. It would be better for the authorities to turn a machine gun on it.
The time was ripe for change. Suddenly it was obvious that the system of having the manager and matron do everything didn't work. By chance, the Protection Board's finances were inspected that year, and Ferguson, through the help of Mark Davidson, a Labour Member of Parliament, widened this into a committee of inquiry of the Board's management of reserves. Although the inquiry failed, the Premier caught the need for change and set up another. New ideas of welfare came up.
Cooper asked Ferguson to organise the Day of Mourning in Sydney in 1938, on the 26th of January. The meeting, for black people only, was chaired by a clever Aboriginal named John Patton. At the school at Kamaraganya, Jack Patton was 2 years behind me, but we all thought he had talent. Even as a youngster, he was full of ideas. The same year I went to Balranald, Patton's family moved to West Wyalong, where his dad was a tracker for the police for 30 years. I always thought that with luck Jack could get a good job, but the Depression came and he ended up boxing. Jack got really angry with the Protection Board because the people on reserve got no social services, no pensions. At the Domain in those years, he learned public speaking, and when Ferguson saw Jack, he made him president of the APA at once. At the Day of Mourning, he was in good form.
Our progress is not a matter of race, it's a matter of education and opportunity. The children lack a decent education and have no chance to improve themselves. We are called together to bring to the attention of whites the frightful conditions under which our people live.
And Patton formally put a resolution protesting against the callous treatment of Aborigines over 150 years. In his speech, Ferguson called for action on their part.
In many parts of Australia,
their past culture and embrace the new. At Dubbo, where he is a well-known citizen and church member, Ferguson organised deputations of blacks to meet state and federal ministers. Then he toured outback reserves, encouraging people to think in terms of politics about his ideas.
In March 1940, Bill came to where I lived at Newtown, Sydney, asking me to be the secretary of the APA. Doug Nichols had put the idea into his head. I was more in touch with Labor politicians than Bill, and along with two white men, Albert Thompson and Mick Sawtell, I arranged for Bill to speak for the Labor conference. He was anxious that two blacks should sit on the new welfare board. Oh, it was a busy time for me. Bill Ferguson would call him a Sydney flat any time. He had heard of someone in trouble with the law, he'd say, and wanted to appear for him in the court. I went to the APA conferences too.
Early next year, there'll be some drastic changes to the Protection Board, the Persecution Board, as we call it. We'll see our ideas are taken up. Aborigines should be elected to the new welfare board. We need more than a fresh attitude to our living conditions. We need some real security of land. Brothers and sisters, I'll be asking you to endorse a string of resolutions for social service payments, for an increased ration scale, for all land owned by the board and leased to whites to be returned at once to our people. The proper houses to be built with a tap to each house and a bathroom. Phenomenally.
A lot of Aboriginal people say, oh, I don't know anything about politics. Good God, that's the weakest excuse I've ever heard. They're afraid, maybe because of the legacy of the past, I don't know. They're afraid to say out openly what they feel politically about something. They're afraid that the white man's going to laugh at it. Nobody's been laughed at more than your father, Bill Boney, and myself. People used us as, they thought we were fools. What are you doing this for blackfellas for? Oh my God, if you're not a blackfella, who do you do it for? So, we've achieved something. We achieved not a great deal, but we achieved recognition as a people, and that is important. But there are stages we've got to go through. The next stage is to get somebody in that federal parliament. We must get two in there from this state. Then we can make or break that government. We can dictate to the government more or less what we need, what we want. But until we get to that point where you can get the control of the Senate, because the independents have the voting control of the Senate.
What do you think of, in view of what Bob said about right now, as opposed to, that's a very interesting idea, more than that, it seems to me very logical, but right now it seems to me the election's next Saturday, and
State government.
and those two hosts along the Pilbara are going to be fought out, aren't they? Now we don't know the outcome yet, but let's say that it went Labor, or it went Liberal. What should we be thinking of in regard to the Pilbara?
Well, as I said, the biggest issue that faces now is not so much the state election, because that's only a little thing. Well, it's an important one, but nevertheless it's not as important as getting somebody into the federal parliament, where into the seat of total power.
Right, okay.
This is number one. All right, perhaps at the next state election we can start preparing a couple of members for here as independents. And using the total Aboriginal vote in the metropolitan area. But because one of the reasons I say the Senate, a senator does not represent any particular section of the state.
Right.
You get the whole lot to vote. Whereas in the House of Representatives you got an electorate.
And you're responsible.
That's right, and which means that places strict limitation of the possibility of getting an Aboriginal person in there. And that's for the House of Reps. In the state, you've got to look at the machinery of the state and see whether or not the Legislative Council or the House of Assembly, what difference there is and what possibility there is. Now, let's assume that the Pilbara, the Kimberley, Eastern Goldfields, I think the council member takes up the Eastern, a lot, that's right to the Port Edwin, to Wyndham. Let's look at possibly getting a state member in there. That's at the state level. But more important, work towards the next 3 years, towards getting one in the state, rather than one, or even two in the federal parliament. Bearing in mind that to get into the Senate is the thing, not so much the House of Reps, because we've got very little chance of getting in there. I don't know of any hope of ever getting an Aboriginal person in the House of Representatives. This one, Neville Bonner was elected to the Senate for this reason. But where you've got the chance, because there's no limitations in distance and population, because each senator represents a total state. So that you have, if you get, say, let's for argument's sake, you and I stand to the Senate and we get in, right? Okay, we've got pretty well control of the government. Two independents. And the person who goes into that Senate, the Senate, is going to forget his little personal things. He has to put his whole heart and soul into the job.
Just keep speaking.
He's got to be there and he's going to be opening up, he's going to vote against, not so much on the party line, because once you become involved with the party, you have to vote in the way the party wants you to. So you're going to have an independent, totally independent person. You'll be a backbencher, but my God, I tell you what, they'll be running to the backbenchers for assistance. For every bill that comes through, the backbenchers are looked down, as you know, the possibility.
What's your idea?
And if you jack up against a particular bill, it's gone out. It'll get thrown out. Because it requires a certain majority in the House to vote on the bill. For instance, you could introduce a Parliament member's bill. And you could pretty well force a Parliament member's bill through. Because they're not going to put at risk their position in the Senate and say, look, I'm not going to vote for that because that doesn't suit my purpose or whatever. They're going to think twice about rejecting that bill, because once they reject that bill, then at every bill, you can knock every bill back and say, no, we don't want it, we're voting against it. And you know what happened when Whitlam got sacked? That's how Whitlam was sacked. Because the Senate blocked all money bills.
And they say that next time round they will always yoke supply too. In fact, the very tactic that the Liberals are using, as you say, with this new development, is to keep the supply away from them.
That's right.
Give it and long quality. Only spoiling Kurinji, or poor Bagami Kurinji. Poor Bagami Kurinji, feed and extend so longly. Buy your own land Kurinji, buying back from Lord Bessie, or poor Bagami Kurinji. Poor Baga Black Fella Kurinji, Bounty buying back country. What you reckon proper fee? Might be flour, sugar and tea from Kurinji to Lord Bessie or poor Bagami.
Oh, into Tipanti Malung, another bringing to Yamago. We are from Monday, all a poor Bagami for the Gurinji.
And that was drinking for a while, and they had a rest under shady trees. And from there, one of the boys found some Indian tracks coming down the water. So they, what he wrote the other four boys up and they all tried to kill the Indians, and they ended up killing two. Now, he's in Creole, coming up now. One day, over a young boy been go hunting really long way. So kangaroo and emu. And the young boy been really good friends. They've been all day, go hunting every day. They've been go really long way, along a trail and country, where they didn't know any water places. And they've never been found any water places at all. And that's why the young boy been go a little bit long way again. And they've been coming along. One big one together.
We are from Monday, all a poor Bagami for the Gurinji.
They've been have a rest along with one bala shady tree. And from there, one bala boy been find that emu track now. We were drinking for a while and they had a rest under a shady tree. And from there, one of the boys found some emu tracks and coming down to the water. So he woke the other four boys up and they all tried to kill the emus and they ended up killing two. Now, it is in Creole, coming up now. One day, poor young boy been go hunting really long way, for kangaroo and emu. And that young boy been really good friend and they've been all day go hunting every day. They've been go really long way along a strange one country where they didn't know any water place at. And they never been found any water place at all. Then that poor young boy been go a little bit long way again and they've been coming along one big one billabong. They've been drinking a little bit and they've been have a rest along a one bala shady tree. And from there, one bala boy been find that emu track now.
Yeah, maybe we don't have the money at the moment to say, right, go ahead and do something about that. But we're going to have to work towards that, because until we get to the point where politics play a very important part in our lives, and whether we like it or not, it's there. And we're going to have to either fight it or go under. For the next 3 years, that's crucial.
Talking about the North End, the business of Kimberley Land Council, do you feel that's getting stronger and stronger as the years go on? Or?
It will get stronger, but it needs the moral support of the people down here.
Yeah, no, that hasn't yet come, has it?
No, it hasn't come yet.
Now, why is that?
Well, you've got a situation where I believe that the state government, and I'm talking about this dickhead preacher Charlie Paul, is orchestrated that.
Yeah.
He's got Aboriginal stooges up. There's no two ways out.
Yeah.
The same as you got the Commonwealth government got their little Aboriginal stooges in each of the states. We come across this last feaster in Canberra, where you got Aboriginal people who, yes, I'm Aboriginal, yes, black power, all this bloody bullshit. Because to me it is. Black power is out. It's no better thinking of, dreaming of that black power because it's just a waste of time. They can take us and put us in one little corner of Calcutta separately, every other in the state to shoot us, and there wouldn't be any loss. We're gonna, this is what we're going to have to look at. We don't want these people to scream out black power. You see what's happened to it in Queensland, in New South Wales. It's dead. So you're going to have to use the system to make the system work for you. We can buck the system, we can kick it in the teeth, but we can't beat it. But we can make it work so that it suits our purposes. And this is a must. This is why we've got to get the political thing into it. A lot of Aboriginal people say, I don't know anything about politics. Good God, that's the weakest thing.